Well, let's talk a bit about what we've been watching over here now going on. We're in the second month of this Russian invasion of Ukraine and how that has been playing out there. And you might be asking, what are we seeing here? Because we see multiple reports from different vantage points, and you might ask yourself, is this propaganda or is this truth? What can we believe when we look at these reports? Especially after what we've lived through here in the States and around the world regarding COVID-19 in those years, those 2+ years, trying to get information that can save people's lives and not know what can be trusted. So we have that as a backdrop of trying to get information that would be beneficial and that we could rely on in that mode of COVID-19 years. And we can't even trust our own government for truth. So how do we navigate and try to get a reasoned understanding of the situation here that we're viewing real time now? And you hear from Vladimir Putin, you hear from Zelensky, and the back and forth we see reports of what the atrocities that's taking place, but we hear denials. So let's try and see if we can't navigate this and let's get to a starting point and address what we do know. So at this point, let's start. Let's start at when Biden took office, and we saw what happened the first day throughout that first week. But let's just take a snapshot. Biden, as he's stepping into the White House, his office, energy independence. United States hasn't been in a conflict under the Trump administration. Our economy, even in COVID, has slated to skyrocket up that year. Security, around in the United States. Financially, even in a pandemic, the financial advisors were forecasting a strong return, and there was optimism that the United States, where we had blacks, Hispanics, women, young people, were the nation's economy was firing on all cylinders. And yes, we did take COVID did put a shutdown to that, and but the forecasting was, once we got through that, which they were saying at that point, that we've been seeing right now, that the corner has been turned, and the projections under a Trump was optimistic, and the foundation was laid for that rebound. But we saw a different path that was taken. So let's quickly go to yes, Biden stepped in office and decisions were made. Afghanistan, a big decision. The world was watching what took place in Afghanistan. Yes, the world. Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un, the mullahs in Iran, China, Putin in Russia watched as we saw the debacle that took place in Afghanistan. And that's when movements were being made. over the several months after that, we saw Russia amassing thousands, hundreds of thousands of troops towards Ukraine. And did we hear much coming out of this so-called president? You know, maybe highlighting the fact and saying what's going on here, and preparing and to put deterrence in place. No, but what did we hear a month, 2 months before Russia makes a move? We heard a speech from Biden, and what was he talking about? Well, if they just the incursion is just a little small area, then we're going to talk. We'll talk. And what did Vladimir Putin hear? We're not going to do anything. We'll just watch and stamp our feet. Don't do that. You can't do that. Vladimir Putin took that as a green light. America's not going to do anything. The Allies aren't going to do anything. And what did we see? Exactly that. And now we're hearing, Biden opening his mouth and talking about, well, if they use, chemical weapons are used and, nuclear, then we're going to, basically, he's saying the same thing that he talked about, when it came to them incursion. So we got the same weakness. Instead of shutting his mouth and saying we're not taking anything off the table, if we need to, we're talking with our allies right now with a tremendous response, and we're not going to take anything off the table. And yes, if we need to use a severe direct force against Russia, that's not off the table either. Now, I'm saying that's what Biden should be saying. Whether or not he's going to do that, but it should be on the table. That in itself is a deterrent. But you don't hear this from this guy. Again, we're seeing the Obama administration again rearing its ugly head, leading from behind. And this is where we're at right now. And when it comes to things that you can look at right now, we're hearing signaling that again, America isn't in a place that they're going to stand by and watch. And again, if Biden thinks that these sanctions are going to stop Putin as far as he's gone right now, then again, he's delusional. And that's where we're standing now. We can see what's going on, and now we need to take a look at when it comes to our nation, when it comes to the strength of our nation. What we're seeing right now and what we have been watching right before our eyes, we see corruption that has been taking place. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we have a situation here wanting to know the truth, whether it's propaganda or whether it's truth. And, we're hearing messages. I mean, you're watching the TV, we're watching strikes. We're watching, Ukraine saying, well, this was done by Russia. Russia saying, no, they haven't. I think we just need to take a step back and say, what do we know about Ukraine over the last several years or even beyond? Have they been that reliable of player? Have there been reports of issues with Ukraine and Ukrainian leaders? Yes, there has. That should also be taken into consideration when we're taking a look at reports that are coming out now. And again, we know who the aggressor is. We know what Putin has done and the aggression that's taking place right now. I mean, we know that there were hundreds of thousands of troops that marched to the border. So yes, that's not propaganda. So now we need to deal with. All right, now that we're getting some information, we know what's happening on the ground. How do we continue to navigate? And again, what we need to be asking ourselves too, as Americans, is, we have a tragedy that is taking place here in our own country right now. The invasion that's taking place on the southern border, for instance. Where there's no answer there, but we have an invasion that's taking place that isn't being addressed here in our own nation. Many Democrat cities right now have become war zones, and the police are losing. Not of their own making, but you have George Soros, AGs, attorney generals, that have been shoveled in to some of these Democrat cities that have handcuffed the police, and no support from the government leadership there. So yes, they're losing because their hands are tied. And now let's talk about the spending of our nation. This binge spending that we've been on that is crippling us. And it's not sustainable. We can't keep spending and that's what we're doing right now with no end in sight. So that's where we are. We have issues right now, and right now when it comes to our economy, if America can't and won't and refuses to become strong again, and that is pivotal, that we become a nation economically that's viable. And we're weakened right now because we have a weak president who has us on the wrong path to financial stability. And, and that's driven by these pie-in-the-sky Green New Deal and going down that rat hole when we've got energy that we need to help ourselves and help those that are being attacked and those that are being threatened right now because of this weak president. That's what we need to focus on. And that's why we're seeing the American people, they know why we're here. And that's why his poll numbers are circling the drain right now. Because the American people are saying, wait a minute, we can take a look at how we got here. And, Kamala Harris tipped her hand and said, well, you voted for what you wanted and you got it. Yeah. She told the truth there. We got an administration that's a failure right at the top and right at the VP, along with the Democrat Party that's been pushing all this stuff. And Biden and Harris have been going right along with it to the detriment of our nation. So how can we help other countries if we can't help ourselves? And giving money to other countries that we don't have isn't going to solve the problem. So that's what we need to really focus on. We're hearing a lot of reports, whether it's propaganda or truth, but we have a history, how we got here. We're watching play before us how this administration, it's signaling what it's saying to the world, but what the world actually sees. We're seeing someone who says one thing, but it's not backed up in any reality. So that's there. we're going to quickly talk about the scandal surrounding Hunter Biden's laptop, and a new revelation has come to point from the left. This past week, I believe it was, the liberal paper, the New York Times, acknowledged that this laptop was authentic. It was Hunter's. And those emails and files that were on there was his. So we're going to take a look here at an interview that Larry Kudlow had with the senior advisor to President Trump, Stephen Miller, and he's going to be talking about the potential levels of corruption between Hunter Biden, his laptop, and the big guy. And it's becoming clear. Yes, we all know who the big guy is, the guy in the White House right now, and what corruption and what knowledge he had of that laptop. And the evidence is coming out with that, yeah, he knew about that laptop, and he tried to hide from it. So let's take a look at this interview with Larry Kudlow interviewing Steve Miller. Take a look.